Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, now that the Super Bowl's over, I guess people are now going to start focusing on baseball. Of course, we have the World Baseball Classic just around the corner. Maybe recall that in the previous episode I had a guest on. We kind of went into all that. But somewhat Yankee-related news. Nestor Cortes will have to bow for Team USA, so we'll get into all that. As well as some news that the captain is back. Not maybe in the capacity you want, but he now joins the MLBonFOX. So kind of get into that as well as some of the fan reactions. And plus, again, entering the new season, there are going to be some new rules. Again, we talked about in previous episodes about the shift and all that, but it's also with the time clock and other things and when to use position plays as pitches, so it'll get you caught up in all that great stuff. But before we start, if you haven't done it already, if you didn't do it last season, I don't know why you do it last season, now you can do it this season. Make sure you sign up to the podcast version of the show, so wherever you get your podcast, go Section 420 Talkin Yankees to podcast and get updated, get little entries. For example, I already kind of went into the whole Jeter joining the Fox team there. I'll talk a little bit about it during this episode, but if you want to get the head start on that, you needed to be a podcast subscriber, so do that. And I'm going to get into the Jeter stuff in the moment, and of course afterwards, make sure you just stay tuned in here. Don't leave don't leave like the seventh inning like those fans you see leaving early. You want to stay here because I'm actually going to read fan reactions to the Jeter news. And of course, there's a lot of Yankee lovers out there, and a lot of Yankee haters, and a lot of Jeter lovers, and a lot of Jeter haters. So kind of mix it there, just get some fan reactions, and I'll react to their reactions. But of course, the more important news is that Nestor Cortes supposedly tweaked his hamstring, so will not be participating in the World Baseball Classic. Could be a little, almost a blessing in disguise, because maybe if he kind of went through it and then maybe made it worse during that period, could have maybe really hampered the beginning of the season for the Yankees. So looks like, he will not be participating. Now, as far as they're saying right now, he should be good for the start of the season for the Yankees, but we don't know how serious this is. And again, we're kind of, in the previous episode, I kind of mentioned when we last saw Nestor, obviously walking off the mound in that game against Houston, after giving up a big home run and a walk there, with the groin pulse. I don't know if this is a hamstring thing or pull thing. This is the same thing. It's something else. But nevertheless, just good to him not involved. And that's, again, kind of why you really don't want your players, especially your pitchers, involved in this World Baseball Classic. Again, just kind of they're ramping themselves up a little earlier than they used to. And it's just, you always kind of cringe a little bit there. So Nestor won't be there. Now, another Yankee will be in, joining Team USA, Higgy. Now, kind of like a bit of a late addition. I'm not sure why they added him. Again, he's like a 150 batter, but nevertheless, he will be representing Team USA. So Yankees still will be represented in the game there with Higgy there behind the dish. And again, you don't really worry about catches and position plays too much there. Again, Higgy's a terrible guy. You never really see him get hurt there, so I don't mind that as much. You just don't want to see your pitches in there. And of course, other Yankees participating in the World Baseball Classic, which maybe we didn't go over last time. Gleyber Torres, fresh off his arbitration settlement with the Yankees, will be playing for Team Venezuela. And Jonathan Loaiza, again, who really stepped up big in the playoffs. And, we've seen him throw some post innings before, but really stepped up big. Now he's a guy that we know we can rely on him. Get some big outs in the postseason because he'll be participating with Team Nicaragua. Again, as a reliever, you don't mind as much. He's going to be maybe throw an inning or face a batter there, so you don't love it, but it's not the end of the world there. But for Nestor Cortes, again, you just got to hope this doesn't really, hamper the Yankees at the start of the season, because remember, they're already down with one pitcher with Frankie Montas, which they already announced is not going to be ready to start the season. So you got you figure, all right, Domingo Germán's going to hold down the fort there, or maybe Clark Schmidt and him battle, or somebody else come there to battle for that fifth spot. But now you don't want a situation with Nestor, who's supposed to be like your number 3 guy, because you got Cole and Rondon at the top. Nestor's supposed to be number 3. Now you don't want to be down 2 starting pitchers there. So hopefully, again, this is nothing too serious. And you might have saw, but Judge officially got his plaque, got his American League MVP at the Baseball Writers Association dinner a couple of weeks ago, and it's probably the only time you'll see Judge in a tuxedo. Looked a little stiff there, but nevertheless, he officially gets his little plaque there, and of course, after getting the big $360 million deal. Now, you might think this little side note that, just because you're not a baseball writer that you cannot attend that dinner. You actually can. You can actually buy a ticket. So I believe, sports writers who do have a vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame or official Baseball Writers Association of America, they probably get it for free. Now, if you're not a part of that, you can buy your way at the ticket there. And I did it once back in like 2011. It's actually a pretty good event. So maybe next year, it's usually in January in New York. It's usually at the I believe it's the Sheridan, like on like 56th and 6th there. So ticket, when I went a couple years ago, it was like almost $200. So it's probably a little bit more than that. But it's a good opportunity for you to sit there. You actually sit at the table and you see some of these baseball writers, chat back and forth, and you actually see some stars there, current stars as well as former players. And, just give you a story, a little taste of when I went there. After the kind of ceremony was over, I was walking around the tables. I got to see like Willie Mays, and there was like a ton of people trying to get his autograph, so I couldn't get closer. But just to see Willie Mays like at a table is pretty cool. But I did get some cool autographs at the time. I got Robinson Cano, I got King Felix Hernandez. They actually both signed the same piece of paper, and then years later they actually go on to be teammates. So it's kind of ironic. Bobby Cox, the former the Braves manager, Ron Gardenhire, the former Minnesota Twins manager. So there's a good handful of players, and if you just can't get an autograph, just to see these guys up close there. So again, next January, if you want to attend the dinner, just make sure to check the listings, the website. I don't know how you go through it right now. Back in the day, I think I went online, I called in to get a ticket, but I'm sure you can do it online now. It's usually in January, so check that out if you want to attend next year's dinner, and hopefully Judge is picking up a second MVP. Now, we kind of got to be careful how we throw around the captain, because remember now, Judge is the captain, but of course when we say captain, we all know Derek Jeter. So as mentioned at the top of the episode, he will now be joining the MLB on Fox. Now, it's in studio, so he's not going to be in the booth calling the game like, Joe Buck back in the day or anything like that. He'll just be in the booth. You know the typical setup. TNT has like the same thing with TBS when they're there. It's usually like one straight, like one broadcasty type guy. Like this time will be Kevin Burkhardt. There's always like a Bob Costas, and they always got like 3 or 4 former players. There's always like Frank Thomas, A-Rod, Ortiz, and Jeter. So this Fox unit is going to be Kevin Burkhardt, David Ortiz, but of course, interesting now, A-Rod and Jeter, and of course, we know back in the years ago, they had a little bit of rivalry, even as teammates, and then it seemed like after the whole, the captain, ESPN series, that, obviously A-Rod said some good things about him. They kind of, rehashed the relationship a little bit. So, I don't think they really have that grudge they had, years back, even though when they were teammates with the Yankees. Jeter will be in studio, and it'll be like the typical, obviously they'll do the pregame, and then of course the postgame analysis and all that stuff. And again, it's a little bit of a duck out of water for Jeter, because we just remember how he was a player. I get it a little bit more as the podcast, but, if you want to see my full rant on the whole thing. But again, when he was a player, you remember, he wouldn't give much, wasn't opinionated at all, very straight-laced, very stoic. So it's just going to be a little interesting for him to give opinions, criticize other players, criticize managers, and I'm sure there's going to be situations where he's got to criticize Boone and criticize some Yankees, and just to see that there. So it's a little interesting take for Jeter. Maybe, and I think it's also not only because, for something for him to do, if you follow Jeter on Instagram and Twitter, he has much more of a personality now. You see him with his daughters having a good time, having fun. Again, totally different from the Jeter we remember when he was a player there. So, maybe he's just letting loose a little bit. But I also think that he's almost auditioning himself. Obviously, he was with the Marlins front office very recently. So maybe he's just trying to get back into a GM job. So, if he shows that he's, has a good analysis of the game, he's sharp, he's kind of putting himself out there. Maybe he's working his way to be in a front office. Obviously, I don't think he'll be with the Yankees because, Cashman, of course, has another 4 years. Jeter signed that deal, so it wouldn't be the Yankees. Maybe it'd be someone else. So, and it's only right now, they only asked for 1 year, 2023. So, no numbers yet on how much money he's going to pay or anything like that. Now you might say, hey, why couldn't he go with the Yes Network? First of all, I just think, obviously Fox is a big national thing. I mean, they got oodles of money. Yes is big too, and it's the Yankees, and they have a lot of money. But I don't think Yes could probably afford what Jeter would, what Jeter could get from Fox. And number two, I don't know if Jeter wants to be in a position of every day, after a game criticizing Boone or criticizing Yankee players. It's just, I don't think that's going to work there. I mean, he's still part of the Yankee lore, so I just don't think he wants any part of that. Now, there's going to be a situation where, yes, he's going to have to criticize some Yankees, if he's calling a national game or if he's calling some postseason games, doing the pre- and post-game analysis there. But I just don't think he wants to do that on an everyday basis for the Yes Network. So I just don't even think that'll be a possibility. So it's going to be interesting to see him and A-Rod go back. And, of course, remember the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox in the early 2000s, fierce rivalry. So just to see Jeter and Ortiz, kind of the two captains of their respective teams at that time, just kind of, often opinions go back at each other. So I think it's interesting TV. I think it's a great move by Fox. So, and they announced it right before the Super Bowl there. So, had a big crowd there. And crowds had some mixed reactions. You got some cheers and boos. And, of course, I'm sure there were plenty of Philly fans there for the Eagles game. So, of course, they booed Jeter, of course, there. So we'll see how it goes now. You want to stay tuned after this. Next I'm going to get into some of the new rules for 2023. But I'm going to read some fan reactions to this. Kind of interesting, kind of funny. I'll just kind of react to those reactions. So make sure you stick around. So 2023, as mentioned in some previous episodes, there's going to be some rule changes. Some things are going to be the same, but there'll also be some changes. So kind of give you, go bottle this all up for you. So what's going to stick around is of course they call it the ghost runner in the extra innings. So remember if you don't score in regulation, starting the 10th inning, guess whoever made the last out will now start on second base, and that's the way it's been. So that's going to stick around pretty much for the end of time now in baseball. I guess they liked it. Of course, it's a way to finish games sooner, so you don't have these like 18-inning marathons. Plus, you're not burning out your bullpen, and which hurts you for like the rest of the week there. So look at that to be a permanent now. That's just in the regular during the regular season. Postseason, obviously, it's old school where you got to earn that you got run. But in terms of the regular season, you'll still see that ghost runner there at second base. Now, did previously mention that we talked about ad nauseum. Again, it's going to be the shift next season. So actually this 2023 already here. So it means now you can't have like the 3 players on the one side or the 4 players on the one side, which has killed people like Joey Gallo. So everyone's figuring, hey, Joey Gallo's going to have a good year now, but we'll see. He's probably still going to pull the ball in the first base. But nevertheless, so basically you have to have 2 players on each side of second base, either on the dirt itself or even you're moving up a little bit in the grass if you're playing the infield if you're trying to stop a run from coming in at third base there. Now, within the inning, you cannot switch players around. So let's say, for example, you have Josh Donaldson at third base. For whatever reason, you can't just like flip Donaldson to first base and put Rizzo to third. Not that you would actually do that, but you cannot do that within the same inning. If you want to do that next inning, that's fine. You cannot do that within the inning. The only time you can switch people around is if someone gets hurt and then you got to move pieces. So let's say DJ LeMahieu hurts himself at second base and you need to take him out and put Gleyber Torres in. For whatever reason, then you could then move, maybe you just want to play Gleyber at third for some crazy reason, put Donaldson at second. Again, you would never want to do that, but again, you can only do it if an injury happens. But nevertheless, that's going to be that. Now, if you do violate any of these rules, you're penalized by 1 ball to the pitcher there. Now, technically, they said once the ball leaves a pitcher's hand, then the position players can move around. So I don't know if this is even physically possible, but let's just say once the player releases the ball, can you get someone to run over in a shift? Technically, possibly, I guess, but this ball is coming like 100 miles per hour, so I just don't think that's possible. So they're trying to play the defenses straight up. So again, this is all to make, obviously, try to create more action in the game, create more singles, and obviously make it easier for the hitters, just so they can, just so you have more activity in the game. You just don't have strikeouts and groundouts where you go like 5 or 6 innings with no action. Now, we already know about the bullpen clock when a pitcher has 2 minutes to come in, warm up, and get his stuff going there, but there's going to be more clocks. So there's going to be a lot of clocks and buzzes and things going around all over the place. This has to do with the actual pitch. Once the pitcher is facing the batters, now a pitcher, if there's no one on base, they have 15 seconds to deliver the pitch. Now if there's someone on base, they have now 20 seconds. So I guess a few looks over at first base there to see, whether the guy's in run or not. Now for the batter, they have up to the 8th second of the pitch clock to step into the batter's box. And if anyone violates the rule, so if the batter violates the rule, he is charged with a strike. If a pitcher violates the rule, the pitcher is charged with a ball there. Now, they're going to have like 2 clocks basically behind home plate for the umpire to see that, as well as 2 in the outfield. So it's going to be a little batty there, so you can have like countdowns here, countdowns there, for just the catches. And for the umpires, also to save time from them, commiserating on the field, they're not going to use basically wireless communication. I guess maybe they have like walkie-talkies or something. So every time the umpires want to like confer in the middle of the field to like look at a play, basically now instead of just all huddling together, they can just go all right, and talk that way over the bases. I guess it saves a few seconds from them all come together, chit-chat, and then go back. So, again, this is all just to speed up the game. It's just getting crazy with the technology because we already know about, there's no more signs anymore. You got basically the catcher, hitting buttons now, and they get the Bluetooth in the pitcher's ear. Now so there's technology all over the place. But, again, it's all to speed up the game. And another thing that fans usually moan and groan about, especially if it's the road team doing it, is throws over at first base. Every time you ever see a pitcher try to like pick off a runner at first like 8 times and the crowd's booing. Well, it's kind of annoying to watch, and plus it does slow down the game. So now MLB is actually looking to govern that as well. So basically, anytime a pitcher either throws over there, steps off the mound, or just kind of does like a half motion over there at first base, it's called a disengagement. So got that disengagement. Now, a pitcher is allowed 2 disengagements per plate appearance. So let's say DJ LeMahieu's up, and you have someone like, I don't know, let's say Rizzo's at first base there, getting a little crafty. The pitcher can only either step off or throw over to Rizzo only twice. If he does that a 3rd time, then he's charged with a balk, and then Rizzo can automatically go to second base. Now, the only time that pitcher can do another engagement, let's just say, DJ LeMahieu's up, Rizzo's at first base. I don't know why I'm picking Rizzo to steal bases, but whatever just comes to mind for some reason. Now, if Rizzo just steals second base on his own and it's still the same at bat LeMahieu, then it kind of resets the disengagement. So if he twice tried to throw over to Rizzo, nothing happened. Rizzo stole base. Now this pitcher could also do the same thing, try to pick Rizzo off at second base. So they can only call it, again, it's called a disengagement there. So, and again, this is all just to speed up the game. And, I think maybe, obviously, it forces pitchers to kind of pick their poison when they want to throw over to first. And it's probably going to, add a lot the stolen base back to the game, which, again, is something that's kind of been missing from the game. You don't really, see much base stealing anymore. Some of the thing in the past, so now you'll have more action on the bases, more stealing going on there. And, of course, less throwovers there, which, again, adds time to the game. So it should shorten the game up, probably pretty significantly, especially late inning in the game. How many times does a reliever throw over there? Like a million times. So that's all going to be cut out. Now, I did mention this previously, but of course it's worth mentioning again that, in the season now they're going to have bigger bases. So previously they were 15 inches. Now they're going to be 18 inches. And, well, that does two things. Number one, helps avoid collisions, especially at first base. How many times, you see a bang-bang play at first base and a first baseman sticks his arm in there and, of course, the runner's bolting to, first base wants to, obviously make it. And kind of you have a lot of collisions where a lot of first basemen get their wrists and their thumbs and stuff jammed and banged. And, happens a lot, like Mark Teixeira, I think, had an issue like that. So obviously with a bigger base, more space there, less likely that would happen. Can still happen, but it's getting less likely. But really the main reason kind of coincides with the previous rule change I mentioned. They want more stolen bases. So, it doesn't take a genius. The bigger the base, the more steals you're going to have because, we have the runner, especially starting in the second there. Obviously, if the base is bigger, he's going to make contact more with an 18-inch bag versus a 15-inch bag. So, again, they want more bases, more action, just to get more fan engagement there so you're not just, sitting in your seat playing on your iPhone for, most of the game. You might remember way back when, I believe it was like a late inning West Coast game against the California Angels, and the Yankees had to bring out Wade Boggs just because the Yankees went through the bullpen, and he actually had to throw some knuckleballs out there. Actually struck out a guy to get out of an inning there. And, of course, 2009, probably a little bit more recently, Nick Swisher having to come in there in a game where the Yankees were getting, killed in Tampa and throw inning there. So once in a while, again, when you burn through your bullpen or you just have a guy you just don't want to use, you have to go to a position player. So, obviously, now MLB is kind of tightening up the rules around this. Now, previously, if you were up by 6 runs or more, you were allowed to bring in a position player to pitch. Or if you were down by 6 runs or more, you were allowed to bring a position player to pitch. So they're trying to make it maybe more stringent one way, but more relaxed in another way to do this. So if you're up by 10 runs or more, you could bring in a position player to pitch. On the flip side, if you're down by 8 runs or more, you could bring in a position player to pitch. Now, when it comes to extra innings, it's all bets are off. It doesn't matter whether you're up, down, whatever. Once you get to extra innings, 10 innings and beyond, then you could bring in a position player to pitch there. So, again, in terms of the Yankee history, the only ones I could really remember was, again, Nick Swisher back in 2009, and of course the Wade Boggs one. That was way back, that was the late 90 Yankees. Not too sure if it happened recently, and it's just really not really comes to my mind. But again, hopefully it's just something you just don't see at all. Obviously, usually that means you're getting killed there. So hopefully it's just something we don't see. And I think the Yankees usually manage their bullpen pretty well. People even criticize, but maybe babying guys a little too much. But again, Boone usually does a good job keeping guys well rested, not burning guys out, and not having a situation where you have to go to a position player. And just thinking on the Yankees, I'm not sure who they would even go to in that situation. Usually go to someone who used to be like a pitcher in high school or college. Not sure. That's probably probably Higgy. Maybe you would bring out Higgy to do that, or I could see maybe even Harrison Bader maybe throwing innings in emergency. But again, hopefully something you just don't see at all. So I mentioned earlier, and as I promised you, Jeter joining MLBonFOX, and wanted to just go to some fan reactions on that. Again, I did something similar a couple episodes, I think, when the Yankees signed Rondon. So I'm going to just get some fan reactions either way, and kind of I'll react to that and give my opinion on the whole thing. Now, since Valentine's Day recently passed, we're going to use a pink piece of paper, which I've written these all down on. So we'll get into the first one here. He didn't stop cheating, so I'm not interested. I don't really get that. No one ever accused Jeter of cheating. I mean, he's been a single slap hitter. I mean, if you want to talk about A-Rod or possibly Ortiz cheating, well, yeah, more of a case, but I don't see, no one ever talked about Jeter cheating, so I'm not sure what that comment is back. Here's another one here. Jeter and A-Rod becoming teammates once again is an unexpected twist, and I did not see that coming. Well, actually, I'll agree with that one. I didn't see that coming at all. And of course, now they will be once teammates will be now teammates again on the Fox. So it took me and pretty much everyone by surprise there. Jeter being on set when the Astros eliminate the Yankees in the DS is going to be fire. Well, of course, obviously it'll be interesting there. Jeter will have to comment on the Yankees losing to the Astros there. So they're an Astro fan there trying to, stick the needle in a little bit. So again, if I was in their shoes, I'd probably say the same thing. So, if I was a Yankee hater, I would like to see Jeter squirm up there and have to admit the Yankees, were bad in a playoff series there. So can't blame him on that one. Good, ... Get to see his beloved Yankees lose to the Astros over and over. There's a lot of angry Astro fans out there loving the prospect of seeing Jeter there, cringe, and have to admit the Yankees lost to the Astros there. But maybe the flip side, we'll see. This is a simple one. This stinks. All right, I guess no one wants Jeter there. He is probably going to be as bad as he was as Marlins CEO. Who gives a F? You can imagine what the F stands for. And thanks a lot for hiring the worst GM in Marlins history. So first of all, this guy's calling Jeter the Marlins CEO and GM. I don't think he was the CEO. I mean, he was part of an ownership group, but he was a GM there. Now, if you want to talk about Jeter's tenure with the Marlins, I mean, wasn't the most successful in the world. I mean, I think he was there like 2017 to up to recently 2020, so 5 years. Didn't do much there. I mean, he was able to move the Giancarlo Stanton contract. Thankfully, gave him to the Yankees. Maybe some people didn't want Stanton, but at the time it was a great move. I mean, at the time he was the NL MVP, so to pick him up and get him and add him to your team was kind of a no-brainer for Cashman. So he was able to move that money, even though Marlins ate a little bit, move that contract off them, just that pressure. Now, they did actually make the playoffs in 2020. Now, you might say that doesn't count because it was the COVID-shortened season, but they did get past the first round. I believe they beat the Cubs, and then after that, I think they got eliminated by the Braves, but he technically did get the Marlins into the playoffs a little bit, at least under him. And look, it's the Marlins. They got like a $10 payroll, so, I mean, Jeter's Jeter, but, I mean, there's only something you could do with a $10 payroll, so whatever. And, of course, Jeter did the right thing, par from them. It's a loser franchise. I know they got 2 world championships, but they're like really one and dones. Really get lucky. They put it the '97. They basically bought the championship, and of course 2003 just got lucky that the Yankees and Red Sox beat the crap out of each other. So they kind of got a Yankee team that had the crap beaten out of by the Red Sox. That's how they got lucky with that one. Let's go on to the next there. Strahan, A-Rod, and the captain sharing the stage is beautiful. Early 2000s dream team. Well, yeah, it was a good point there, God. This was technically done right before the Super Bowl, so they had the Fox NFL staff, NFL team there, which included former Giant Michael Strahan. So to have like Strahan, and of course, obviously he was with the Giants in the late 90s and early and throughout the 2000s. Of course, was there for the first Super Bowl back in Super Bowl 42 in 2007. And of course, A-Rod and Jeter played in the early 2000s as teammates. So yeah, you got to have a bit of a throwback of some of the, from New York stars there. So if you're like a New York fan, hey, you like that little moment of all these people on stage here. And of course, if you really want to go back, Kurt Menefee, who used to do Fox 5 Sports there. Now, that was more the late 90s. So it's like you had all the New York stars there at once there. So again, if you're a New York fan, you like that little moment there. I'm all for it. I'm loving this goofy dad Jeter that we're all seeing. Watch the guy play all the time and never saw that side of him. I kind of mentioned that in the previous episode, and of course the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast if I would have said the same thing. Yeah, we'll see more of Jeter's personality there, so it'll probably come out more on this, MLB on Fox. And they'll probably do some little comedic skits as well before the game, like, oh, Jeter and A-Rod in the car together, go and get ice cream, whatever. They'll play that up a little bit. I like this announcement. Involves the discretion of the desecration of a Yankee jersey. Well, yeah, what happened was when they brought Jeter out, they bought the Yankee Jeter jersey. On the bottom, it had the number 2, and they had the little Fox logo. Of course, the Yankee jersey is supposed to be pure, but it's already been desecrated on. Of course, they got the Nike on the front there, so this is nothing new. And this is just for a one situation, one shot, just for that, for the whole Jeter. It's not like it's not like any of the Yankees were like wearing a Fox thing on the back or wearing the logo on the back for like a whole season like that. So the Yankee jersey has been recently desecrated, so it's really nothing new there. We go. We're about to find out another thing which A-Rod is better at than Jeter. Ooh. Well, yeah, if you want to compare the two players, of course, straight up, obviously, hitting-wise, home run-wise, fielding-wise, A-Rod is probably the better player in that regard than Jeter. But, of course, Jeter's the captain, and he's kind of Mr. November and Mr. Playoff guy there, so maybe Jeter has the intangibles there. But, yeah, if you want to say A-Rod's the better player than Jeter, you could definitely make the case. He probably is. Just look at the numbers. It speaks for itself. Man, A-Rod, almost like has like over 600 home runs, to 3,000 hits. Now, of course, he's not going to get into the Hall of Fame because, obviously, he probably messed around some stuff there. But nevertheless, as it comes for analysis, A-Rod's pretty good. And they even said that he was a player that he loves the game, knows a lot about it. So we'll see an opportunity now as Jeter, can Jeter keep up with him? And does he have the same passion, the same insight? So it's going to be interesting to find out there. Oh, here's just in all capital letters, he's back. Someone like to see Jeter's there. Another one, 3 and GOAT emojis, so 3 GOATs and greatest of all time. You would say Jeter, A-Rod, Ortiz. It's a fair statement. I could agree with that one. I would have to assume this means either A-Rod and Jeter are never going to be in the same place at the same time, or they smoothed out their beef. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously they're going to be probably next to each other, or at least maybe split by Ortiz there, but I think the beef is behind them. That was years ago. Yeah, it's one of those things that it's probably always there for Jeter, but I just don't think they have that little grudge that they had many years ago. Really, if you look back, supposedly the big one happened, not the A-Rod comments he made about Jeter, but back in 2006, I believe it was the games against Tampa, there was a pop-up fly ball between Jeter and A-Rod. The ball fell between them, and on the field they just gave each other a bit of a dirty look. Supposedly after that game in the locker room, they threw some F-bombs at each other, and that's when it got nasty. Now, again, it's really an unconfirmed report, but that's really the real beef was that, and that was like 2006, if you want to believe all the stories. But now they're all friends again, so that's that one. LFG, so it's Let's F and Go. Someone very happy about this. I cannot wait. Oh, captain, my captain. So that's probably a Yankee fan. Happy about that one. Was hoping he would join the Yes Network crew, but still big news. Let's go fire. And I can't mention before, I just don't think Jeter would do the Yes Network just because it's localized. They probably can't give as much money as Fox could. And plus, I don't think Jeter wants to be in that position of criticizing Yankee players or management on an everyday basis. So again, I just don't see him ever. Same thing with like everyone's like, I want you to come back to be as a GM. I just don't see that, or even like Don Manley come back as a manager, because you don't want to have to like fire one of your greats. So again, just don't see that as a possibility. Now, you can read these yourself if you go into Twitter. This is actually the MLBonFOX Twitter handle, and you can read some of these reactions yourself. Now, those previous ones were all from just private people, so I'm not going to mention their names or Twitter handles, but I guess one public figure, worth mentioning because he's a public figure, was Keith Olbermann chimed in. Remember Keith Olbermann, the former newscaster. I think he's doing some podcasts in his basement for iHeartRadio. But of course, you may remember him from lore where he was sitting in the stands with his mother, and Chuck Knobloch, when he had the throwing yips, threw a ball into the crowd, hit Keith Olbermann's mother in the head there. So that's what you know of Keith Olbermann. His take on this is, I think, probably quite interesting. He's deliberately never said anything interesting in his life. He'll fit in perfectly on the Fox baseball broadcast. So a little dig there at Fox, and I think Olbermann, obviously he's a very liberal person. So obviously he sees Fox as conservative. So I guess a little political jab there, but he's kind of right. We never seen Jeter's gone on his way to never be opinionated. So it's a new look for Jeter. So I hope you enjoyed those. Again, you can check out the handle yourself if you wanted to see some of his reactions. How a fan. So really, just to sum it all up, no Nestor Cortez for Team USA, and of course a whole host of new rules as we go into the new season, again involving defensive players, the clock, how much you got to throw there, which I don't think had much, I don't think we're going to see umpires enforce that too much, but nevertheless we'll see how it goes. And of course bringing in your position players, just in case you're up or down a lot, how you want to use that, how you want to manage that. And if you're the New York Yankees, you just got to hope and cross your fingers that this Nestor Cortez hamstring injury is not going to be something that hamstrings the start of this season.